Hi, my name is Kerry Critchlow from RCI Recording Studios, and today we are going to be going over wavetable synthesis. Now, to start off with, I am not an expert at wavetable synthesis, and so what I explain today may not be 100% correct, but I'll give my best explanation of what I believe it to be anyways. This definition here, wavetable synthesis, uses a table of switchable frequencies to create a sound. And based on my understanding, this is not maybe the greatest definition that exists. It might be more accurate to say that it uses a table of switchable waveforms to create a sound that changes over time. And I'm going to try and make that make sense here in a second here. So we'll come over here and we're going to go up and bring up our Anna 2 synth here. The reason we're using this one today is because it does have wavetable synthesis as one of its features. Not all synths will have this. Some synthesizers will specialize in this. Some just have it as a feature. And Anna 2 happens to be one of the synths that has this feature. It's actually one of the reasons I really like this synthesizer is it can do a lot of the different types of synthesis that exist out there, and it's very versatile as a synthesizer. There may be more versatile synthesizers out there, and there may be some that are specialized very well at one type or another, and you can kind of choose which you lean towards, but just about any synth will be able to come up with some really cool sounds if you know what you're doing, and so the point is not to go out and get an Anna 2. I'm just going to be able to use this as an example of wavetable synthesis here. And so we're going to go ahead and initialize it. I mean, we're going to just default it to like normal settings here. And then what a wavetable is you can almost think of it as like a matrix of different waveforms, all right? And then you can switch which grid in the matrix you're in or which sound is being played by switching between the different waveforms. And that will create some changes in the sound as it's being played. And this is probably not making a whole lot of sense. Maybe a good way to do this would be to create a new spreadsheet here. And let's just kind of consider that this is this row here is going to be our frequency, so our wavetable. So this will be waveform 1, and that could be a sine wave or a more complicated waveform. It's kind of arbitrary. It doesn't really matter. This could be anything. It could be a violin sound. It could be a saw. It could be a sine. It could be a piano. It could be anything. And then we're going to have waveform 2. And again, this can be kind of anything you want it to be, really. You can keep it in the same family as waveform 1, or you can make it something wholly different. Like this could be a guitar and this could be a piano. This is kind of arbitrary in a very real sense, okay? And then we have waveform. I cannot type form 3, and so on, right? And you can have 3, 2, 10, 20, 1,000. It doesn't really matter how many waveforms you have in this table, but this table is going to hold all of your frequencies. And then as you're playing the sound, you can have this be your starting sound, and then as it's being played, you can switch it to waveform 2, and all of a sudden the sound changes. And then you can switch it to sound 3, and the sound changes. Now, modern digital synthesizers will do this in a smooth way, so it wouldn't be an abrupt thing. It would be more like a spectrum. And so it will morph from here, from waveform 1 to waveform 2. And I will give you an example of that. If we look at our oscillator section, and this is all in the oscillator section, although you can trigger this morphing ability with LFOs and envelopes and things like this. But we have here our 3D wavetables, and these are designed to be able to, these are the wavetables for wavetable synthesis, right? Now, these are just the ones that are built into ANA 2. You can make your own. You can, and different synthesizers will have maybe more options or less options depending on the synth you're using. But we can take this Acid 128, for example, and it has this wave shape right here, okay? And then when we engage this wavetable, this option came up. If we were in analog, now it just says phase, but when we go to wavetable here, that option changes to, say, morph. And that means that you can morph between the wavetables, right? And if we were to morph this, you can see that it is changing what the waveform looks like. And so the different positions are the different frequencies. So you can say that 0% is waveform 1, and then arbitrarily we'll just say that 1% here, or 1.2 or whatever, is waveform 2, and then the going between 1 and whatever, this is the kind of the smoothing of the waveform, right? So that's waveform 2, waveform 3, waveform 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and all the way up to 100%, and you can see that the shape of the waveform is changing as we go. And these are all shapes that were built into our table here. If we go back to our example, up to 100% or whatever, and it's allowing us to smoothly transition between one table and another. And we can control this. I guess we'll just, first of all, let's go ahead and do this. Turn it down some. And we'll bring up our piano roll here, and we'll just put in a note, and we'll play this note. And that's just what wavetable 1 sounds like. And then you might have wavetable 2. We'll just say that it's 10%. A little different. And then 20% ish. 30%, or as close as I can get to it. 40%, 50%, 60, 70. Anyways, you get the idea. It's changing, it's morphing, but what you can do is morph it as it's being played. And if we turn on our looper here, we're also going to smooth out, so we just don't get that little click popping stuff. We're going to go ahead and just add 1 millisecond attack. So it's just a little bit smoother. It doesn't have that click or that pop as the note starts. And then what we can do is come down to our LFO section here and take our oscillator 1 and assign it to the morph function. And so this LFO is going to control this morph thing here, parameter. We'll go ahead and sync it, and we'll put the rate at, like, I don't know, maybe a quarter note to start with, just for funsies here. And then you can slow that down if you want. And let's do mono. It's a little smoother. And so all this is doing is just switching between the different waveforms within the table that has already kind of come pre-built with this particular synthesizer. We can also try other things like this animals here. Or bell. or bowed. And so you can see as it's being played that the waveform is changing, and all it's really doing is smoothly transitioning between different waveforms that were built into the table. And, you know, different waveforms will have different amounts of waveforms. Like I said, it's kind of arbitrary to a degree, meaning some of those tables might have 3 waveforms, some of them might have 20 or 100 or whatever the case may be. I don't actually know. I don't think there's a way to check under the hood, so to speak. But then this morph ability within the digital realm allows us to smoothly transition them. If we were to, for instance, use a square instead, it might be a little more abrupt. And so you can see it's just transitioning between the 2 different wave tables. And, you know, if we were to increase this. All right. And so a square can kind of give you an example of what an abrupt switch might be. And that would kind of create just like 2 kind of distinct tables, if you will. But there's more tables that are involved, suffice to say. So. And so it just allows you to play different waveforms and then smoothly transition between them. That's what wavetable synthesis is in a nutshell, is just creating a series of pre-made waveforms that belong in a group together, and you can switch between the different waveforms and using LFOs or even envelopes. For instance, I could assign this instead to this envelope here. So if we were to turn this off and assign this to or assign this parameter to a modulator envelope instead, we could create a envelope here. And then using this, we can sort of create our own sort of envelope. So we can create kind of like square-ish things, like we can come all the way down here and have this be, you know, like this. And then maybe the next square. This can be fun to use. If I could use my mouse as well as I wish I could. Okay, and so we have different values here. And And so you can see how it follows this envelope here. Because we've created square, it's very abrupt as it goes. All right, and you can make this any shape. I'm just trying to give you an example here of how you could use an envelope to create the table, and you can do more of it if you wanted to. So you could have this one. Come down here. All right, and so you can control this wavetable in a lot of different ways if you wanted to, either via an envelope or via an LFO or what have you. There's lots of different ways to go about doing it. Yeah. So, as far as wavetables go, that's basically it. But what you can do is, let's turn this off now because we don't really want this. But using this kind of principle, what you can do is have, because you're changing the sound over time, it adds some interest to the sound and allows you to have some fun sort of shaping, if you will, from the sound. It just gives variety to the sound instead of just having one, so the sound kind of be stagnant or flat. I don't know how to explain it, but you can have some interesting. If we bring up our thing. It's just adding some color and some character to the sound as it goes, and allows you to kind of just add some variety to the sound as it's being played, and gives you a little bit of creative control over that. So that's basically Wavetable Synth in a nutshell. And you can use it to, like I said, create some interest. So like this is a just a fun little thing I came up with. It took me, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes to put together a very simple little kind of thing using some different synths. So like we have our drums here. All right. Then I added in an 808 bass, which is a very like low frequency bass. You probably hear a lot in like hip hoppy kind of productions. If you don't have a good set of speakers, you may not even hear this, but it's a very low end, heavy kind of bass sound. All right, and then I just took a copy of that bass and made a distortion bass to fill in a little bit more of the mid-range. And then I took another synthesizer here and added kind of like a string-esque sort of sound to it. All right. Kind of like detuned a little bit. Just kind of adds kind of like an eerie sort of vibe to the track. But anyways, I just kind of put this together for fun, but I thought that we could use this and add in a synthy sort of sound using our wavetable synthesis here. So I believe the chords here in this song are C major. And then an A minor, F. Oh, that should be a C. Oh, nope, definitely not an A minor. What am I doing here? C, G. G. That's what that should be. And if you watch my theory video, you should understand these chords here. So we have a C major chord, which is a C, E, and a G. We have a G major chord, which is a G, B, and D. And then we have an F, which is an F, A, and C. A, and C. Oh. F, A, C. And then maybe we can take this and just move it up an octave. Oh, I hate when this happens. Sorry. Every now and then, the synths will get stuck. I don't know why, but. And then we can just take this and copy paste it. And then we can, from here, use a little bit of subtractive synthesis. So we've created this rich harmonic sort of thing, and it's switching between the wavetables in a smooth manner. And then we can take a filter and we can perhaps low pass it a little bit. And then we can even play more with it and maybe have it be a little bit more paddy kind of sound. And I think I'd still like this to, oh, maybe I never did. I thought I'd put this up an octave. Unstick it. I don't know why it gets stuck, but. Okay. And so it's kind of like a practical example of how you can use this synthesis process to create like a paddy kind of, or like, you know, sort of this warm sort of backup chord thing. And I probably wouldn't, if I was really adding this in, I don't know if I would necessarily be using these chord forms as they are. I might do some inversions, for instance. And we can even have maybe add in a seventh here. And I guess this has more to do with theory than anything, but I just wanted to show you some practical applications because I'm not sure I've been doing a great job of that, how you can incorporate these types of sounds into your productions. And so we have our wavetable sound, and because we're adding movement to it via this morph function, switching between the different tables as it goes, it's adding sort of this moving sound that you can kind of put underneath the music. All right. And you can play with this too. So like maybe we didn't like this sound. Maybe we want to choose from a different table here, or a different, rather, different sound. And we can slow down the rate maybe, so it's a little bit more, less wah, 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 or whatever, and maybe a little just kind of more subtle. And you have some fun with it. And then we get for funsies, we can also add in some like reverb or things like that. Or maybe even some delay here. Just add a little bit of some vibe to the sound. And this allows you to, come up with some fun things. And then this isn't the only use of wavetable synthesis. You can create basses, you can create leads, you can create all sorts of different sounds using this process, and apply it into your own productions as you see fit. But it's just a way to add some fun movement to this to the sounds. And there's lots of software synths out there that can do this type of thing. Some of it specializes. Native Instruments Massive X is one that specializes in wavetable synthesis. So you may want to check that out if you want to get more into this type of thing. It'll probably have a little bit more options than this particular software. It's flexible. It can do a lot of fun stuff, this synth, but it doesn't really specialize in any one thing. So it kind of gives you a spectrum of fun little uses. But if you really want to dig into this, you may want to look into more specialized things. And if you just do like a Google search on other synthesizers that specialize in wavetable synth, you can probably find some that would be fun for you to work with. But that's the basics of it, right? So you're just taking essentially your waveforms from you're adding waveforms into a table, and it can be an arbitrary amount of waveforms, and then the digital software will create transitions between the two of them that will allow for those smooth transitions if you want them. You can also use various types of envelopes and things like that to make them a little bit more abrupt if you don't want that smoothness added into it, kind of like we did here with our envelope shaper here. There's lots of different things, controls that you can use, or different ways to kind of switch between the frequencies and add kind of some movement and some color to your sound as it's being played. Similar to like what an LFO would do. And like I said, you can actually just use an LFO to do this as well. And so, yeah, you can have some fun with this type of thing. Then once you've created your wavetable oscillator kind of synth thing, you can then, add LFOs. You can add subtractive synthesis. You can play with the amp envelopes, ADSRs, to shape the sound more. There's lots of fun stuff. You can add voices to it. And have some fun with it. This is the thing I love about synthesizers is that you can be really creative with it, and you can either build your own sound, kind of like we did here, or you can use a preset, like we've talked about in other videos. Take a preset, and because the operations of how synthesizers work, how oscillators work. How filters, envelopes, and LFOs and effects work, because we've covered all of that kind of stuff in previous videos. You can then use that knowledge to make those presets fit your particular production however you want it to. And like I said, this has been kind of an arbitrary sort of thing, but I wanted to try and incorporate this sort of process into a more practical application, so that you can see how you can build a sound that can sort of fit your creation. Now, I'm not saying this is the perfect sound for this. I just wanted to give sort of an example. If I was really trying to fit this sound better into what this is, I'd probably spend a little bit more time and really try and hone it in and whatever. But this gives a good kind of reference starting point of how you can use wavetable synthesis practically in your own productions, right? But you can do this with, you could have created the bass sounds with this, a lead, any kind of thing that you'd want to add movement to the sound as it goes by switching between the different wavetables and adding some sonic colorization to your sound. So anyways, I hope that this video has been helpful for you, and that you now know the difference between or what I hope you now know what wavetable synthesis is, and that you can use this knowledge to start applying it in your own productions. and I hope you have yourselves a wonderful week, a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.